From taco night in Tulum to sushi in Tokyo, make every bite rewarding with gold from Amex. Wherever you dine, 4 times membership rewards points at restaurants worldwide are piling up. Learn more at americanexpress.com/explore-gold. Terms and points cap apply.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Roger Stone Show. We have a lot of breaking news on the show. Joining me now is Congresswoman Paulina Luna. She is in the forefront of so many of the most important fights facing this country. She's in her second term as a Congresswoman from Florida's 13th Congressional District. You can't really pick up the news without learning that she is a firebrand among President Trump's most loyal supporters, deeply committed to the America First agenda. I think all of the president's supporters over the last 2 weeks have been somewhat confused about his remarks regarding the Epstein scandal. Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted pedophile, convicted of sex crimes in Florida, charged in 2019 by the Trump Justice Department for child sex trafficking and conspiracy to engage in child sex trafficking. And the president kept repeatedly saying that this was a hoax. Well, he didn't mean that Epstein's being a child's predator and a sex trafficker was a hoax. What he meant, and it's now abundantly clear, is the most important records, the grand jury testimony that was used to indict Epstein on both of those counts, as well as the search warrants, have been in the custody of the prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. This is the most partisan group of deep state partisans in the country, as well as the New York office of the FBI. So it is now absolutely clear that what he means is that the evidence, the most damning evidence, because you can't charge somebody with conspiracy to commit child sex trafficking without identifying who the co-conspirators are. This evidence has been in the custody of President Trump's enemies, and it is not only highly likely, but now proven that they have salted this with poison pills, with fake evidence, by witness the fact that the Wall Street Journal, owned by the Trump-hating globalist Rupert Murdoch, irresponsibly posted this birthday card that Trump allegedly gave to Jeffrey Epstein, in which he says, "Happy birthday, we share another year of sharing our secret." This is the most obvious fugazi fraud I have ever seen. And then I learned that Congresswoman Paulina Luna has been contacted by a whistleblower who can document the destruction of Epstein evidence in New York. Paulina Luna joins us now.
Hey, Roger, how you doing?
I am really honored to have you on the show. There's a lot to talk about. Your investigation into the government's handling of the records regarding the John F. Kennedy assassination, this Epstein issue. Let's start there. Tell us what you know, what you can about this whistleblower, what you think has transpired regarding the Epstein evidence.
Yeah, so I basically came across this information back in late February of this year, actually. So, you're seeing a lot of people right now, specifically members of Congress, who some of them have not been so fond or supportive of the president. So that's kind of a separate argument, right? Because I've been really on this, and it seemed like for a little bit I was one of the most critical as to the handling of the files. But as this transpired, so back in late January, I was made aware of an individual who's a former special agent that actually went public and stated that they were aware that there was destruction of evidence taking place at the FBI that started actually under the former deputy director, Paul Bates, who was a Biden appointee, and that this destruction of evidence actually continued under Kash Patel's leadership, but without his knowledge, and that it was well known among many of the agents at the FBI that this was not only partisan, but also he said that he felt that it had to do with Epstein and also documents pertaining back to everything involved with Russia collusion. And so I thought that that was kind of interesting because if you're looking at what's happening right now, especially with the bombshell evidence drop that Tulsi just dropped literally within the last 24 hours, and you see that the that the Obama administration really not only falsified an intel report as a means to get a FISA warrant, which ultimately ended up in the illegal surveillance of the president, and then also was the foundation for Russiagate. And then you see that there is someone who came forward, and this is not timing. This is actually documented back in February. I made sure to, again, contact the FBI, and to my knowledge now, there is an open investigation into this. I cannot name the individual that was named in this apparent scheme is what it was. But I do feel like if you have, and this is just my opinion, if you have someone who's willing to destroy evidence or people that are willing to destroy evidence, they're essentially tampering with evidence. And that also means, too, just like they can erase it, they can also plant evidence and information. So I do think it's incredibly important that Pam goes through, and she's already made the motion to unseal those grand jury testimonies. And I think when you see that happen, what's interesting is it's very likely that one of the judges involved in this process is going to be a Democrat. I just want to remind people that back in November of 23, Senator Dick Durbin, who's still actually a senator currently, he actually was responsible for blocking a subpoena that Marsha Blackburn wanted to send in regards to the Epstein flight log. So I ask people, you're seeing all this spin happening right now. And then even just 2 days ago, Senator Dick Durbin, for the very same flight logs he wanted to block, then sent a message to Pam Bondi, publicly released it within 24 hours of the Wall Street Journal article, and actually had asked for the same information and then went a step further. So they are using this as a partisan game. But the fact is, and I can say this without a doubt, that I do not believe that President Trump was involved in Jeffrey Epstein's illegal activities. It is well documented from Ghislaine Maxwell that she stated on a number of occasions that President Trump, again, was not involved. And then not just that, but President Trump was one of the only people when Epstein actually got rolled up that was able to assist with investigators. So when he made those statements, I asked, and I actually volunteered, I said, I will go on any outlet across the country to talk about this. And within 24 hours, I'd gone on about 10 news outlets, but those outlets that did not want to have me, they booked me and then canceled me twice, were CNN and then also to ABC. So you're noticing that there is evidence here. This has been documented in March because of a result of me finding out about the evidence destruction. I actually had introduced the SHRED Act that would increase the mandatory minimums for any official that was caught destroying evidence. And then now you're seeing, the same members of Congress who ignored that, didn't want to get involved in it. Now they're using this. In my opinion, some of them are using it to try to beat up the president. Meanwhile, they wanted nothing to do with the investigation. And so, look, I was one of the first people who was very critical about how the DOJ handled it. But because I know the inside and I'm putting together the pieces and I've been following this, I'm happy to say that I actually am very much forward looking towards Pam Bondi unsealing those indictments. And frankly, I think that the American people should just be aware of what's truly happening. It's unfortunate, but you're seeing that there's a bigger scheme at play here.
Yeah, I could not agree more. My 2015 book, The Clintons' War on Women, the longest chapter in the book is called Orgy Island. I'm the first author in the country to expand on the criminal nature of Jeffrey Epstein and what he was doing. The truth is, Donald Trump cut Jeffrey Epstein off in 2005 before he was exposed and charged with sex crimes in Florida, whereas the Clintons continued to not only socialize with him, but between the time Epstein was indicted and the time that he pled guilty to a slap on the wrist, they took a $25,000 contribution from him. They would subsequently take millions of dollars to him. So all of these Democrats jumping up and down about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, where's the list? Where's the list? They're going to be very unhappy with the list, and here's why. It is commonly known that Epstein's little black book was sold to a journalist by his butler, Alfredo Rodriguez, who is now deceased. That doesn't mean everybody in his phone book was involved in pedophilia, but Rodriguez circled the names of those he said were either involved or were material witnesses to pedophilia and to child sex trafficking. And the people who are most prominent who visited this island are, to a person, On the political side, Democrats, President Bill Clinton, Governor Bill Richardson of New Mexico, U.S. Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell of Maine, Bill Gates. So Donald Trump never visited the island, never visited Epstein in his Paris home, never visited his ranch in New Mexico, never went to his New York residence, which is the largest and most expensive residential single-family property in all of Manhattan. And the one and only time that Donald Trump went to his Palm Beach home, it was for a charity fundraiser, and we have the sworn testimony of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who said that she saw Trump there. He was a perfect gentleman, and she had no reason to believe that he was involved in any inappropriate activity. So this is a canard being pushed by the hard left. And I think my friend Alex Jones really got to the bottom of this. We have so many great things happening in the country. A record Dow, low inflation, illegal border crossings dropped by 98%, the largest illegal immigrant deportation operation in history, a stable dollar, low inflation rates, record revenues from tariffs. We had a surplus in June for the first time in decades. But the media wants to talk about nothing but Jeffrey Epstein and to smear Donald Trump. This is the fact that Donald Trump was on Epstein's plane once is absolutely correct. His wife at the time, Marla Maples, who was at my wedding with Donald Trump, and his daughter Tiffany and a nanny were on the plane at the same time. It went from New York to Palm Beach on a Friday and from Palm Beach back to New York on Sunday. So what? That proves nothing whatsoever. It is an outrageous smear. When we come back with Congresswoman Paulina Luna in just a minute, I want to ask her for an update on her courageous role in uncovering more evidence regarding the murder of President John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963. She's done an amazing job of holding the deep state accountable, as certain agencies of government have not fulfilled their responsibilities under President Trump's order that everything, and he did mean everything, be released. She has some blockbuster revelations about that investigation. We'll be right back with Congressman Paulina Luna, firebrand, America First Patriot. I'm proud to say now, my friend, she's doing an amazing job for her country, for her district, for her state. And I'd like her to run for the United States Senate. I really would. She's going to get there one way or another someday. We'll be right back with the Congresswoman right here in the Roger Stone Show. Please, whatever you do, folks, don't touch that dial.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This shrimp and coconut sauce is divine. What's your secret?
Goya coconut milk.
How does it taste so good?
It's all in that real coconut flavor and that rich, creamy texture.
What about thickeners and added sugars?
None. Just smooth, coconutty goodness.
What can I make with it?
From curries to sweet treats like coconut flan, the possibilities are endless.
Goya coconut milk. Take your cooking to the next level. No question about it. Find it in the Goya section of your local grocery store. If it's Goya, it has to be good.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Imagine being on a vacation for a very long time. Now imagine saving money nightly while you do it. Sounds pretty great, right? With Vrbo's long stay discounts, you can stay longer and save more. Our customers save an average of 10% when they book select properties for a week or longer. Just in case you needed another reason to extend that vacation. Book the perfect summer getaway today with Vrbo Private Vacation Rentals. Your future self will thank you later.
Why does the United States pay higher drug prices than other countries? Because America's the only country in the world where 340B hospitals mark up drug prices and PBM middlemen charge billions in hidden fees. Meanwhile, Americans subsidize the research and development for new cures. Other countries benefit, but don't pay their fair share. Crack down on the middlemen. End the free riding. Lower drug prices. Go to balancethescales.org to learn more. Paid for by Pharma.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we're back. We're talking to Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, represents Florida's 13th district. It is only because of the persistence and the relentlessness of Congresswoman Luna that the deep state has been forced to disgorge documents just days ago that show us that for 6 decades, the CIA has lied about their knowledge, tracking, and in fact, their handling of Lee Harvey Oswald. After an epic struggle, the CIA finally turned over the files regarding a man named George Joannides. I always mispronounce his name. A CIA operative who, under an alias, was essentially Oswald's handler. And we now know that Joannides maneuvered Oswald into that street scuffle in New Orleans, where Oswald was handing out pro-Castro flyers, got into a street fight in an effort to position Lee Harvey Oswald as a pro-Castro communist for the setup that was to come. This is an amazing accomplishment. Congresswoman, tell us a little bit about how you got this and what it shows.
Yeah, so when I initially had started the investigation, there's been researchers studying the assassination on JFK, like yourself, for decades. And so I was able to partner with an individual by the name of Jeff Morley, who had some outstanding documents. And so I kind of got that list and I went from there. And I will say, credit due where it's deserved. Director Ratcliffe actually wanted to ensure that President Trump's executive order was followed through. And so we just kept going back saying we're missing this one. We actually had people going through all, tens of thousands of documents that were dumped onto the archives. And what I will tell you is, we had people like the Washington Post that were attending our hearings, and they were basically trying to say that we were pushing a conspiracy theory. And then after the Joannides file ended up dropping, the tune changed, and they actually were forced to print for the first time since the assassination of President Kennedy, because if you look at the Washington Post history, they're actually a part of parroting the CIA's narrative about Oswald being a lone gunman. And we know now that this is completely false. And in the findings of the actual task force, if I were to sum it up, which we're still waiting on a few more documents, but what I will tell you is, based on the evidence that we have now, it is apparent and it is documented that President Kennedy was not just shot from the behind, but he was also shot from the front, meaning there was more than one shooter. The CIA definitely denied the lone gunman theory. The proof of the Joannides files doesn't just prove that the CIA lied to Congress and intentionally tried to derail the investigations, but it also points to the fact that Oswald couldn't have been the shooter because of the fact that he was definitely, in my opinion, not capable of taking the shot. And so we are also able to get, and this is something that, I just announced a few days ago, but for the first time ever, the Russian government will be releasing the KGB findings and investigations into Lee Harvey Oswald. And that's incredibly important because in the 90s, the congressional investigators that were going back and looking at the Kennedy files tried to obtain those documents, and they were denied. And so those will be available to the American people. To my understanding, and dealing with the embassy, they're going to be putting that information out publicly, just like they did on the National Archives. But what's interesting about those files, from what I've been told, is Lee Harvey Oswald was actually under surveillance of the KGB when he was in Russia. And he was a terrible shot. And according to the psychological profile, he would not have met the profile of someone who would have been able to plot an assassination in the way that the CIA tried to pin him as doing it. So these are all things that when you put the mosaic together and you see what's really happening here, you realize that, for the CIA to make that admission, that's a big deal. People say, well, why should we care about it? Well, look at what's happening right now. Look at what Tulsi just released. I mean, if we don't flush out the corruption, if we don't put the truth out there, then it can ultimately repeat itself. And I believe in some ways that's exactly what they try to do with President Trump. So it's very serendipitous in timing that this is all coming out now.
Yeah, this will be the second time that the KGB documents have proven something important. Richard Nixon's rise to national prominence was because He claimed that Alger Hiss, a high-level State Department official working for Franklin Roosevelt, was in fact a Russian communist spy. Ultimately, Hiss would be convicted of perjury. The American left denied repeatedly that this was a smear, it was outrageous, that Nixon had destroyed Hiss. In the 90s, the KGB, the successor to the KGB, released the records that proved definitively that Alger Hiss was indeed a Russian spy. Congresswoman Paulina Luna has introduced a bill to put President Donald Trump's visage, his image, on Mount Rushmore. If you support her bill, you can go to onemoreforrushmore.com. That's onemoreforrushmore.com, where we are rallying public support behind Congresswoman Paulina's bill to put President Trump's image up on Mount Rushmore with other great presidents. Now, certain leftists say that the current memorial is so fragile that adding Trump could endanger the whole thing. I've talked to the design people, I've talked to the construction people, I've talked to all those involved. The technology is such that Paulina's bill could be carried out, that Donald Trump could be added without any danger to the existing Mount Rushmore Memorial in South Dakota. Folks, please go to onemoreforrushmore.com. Congresswoman Paulina Luna, thank you so much for joining us today in the Roger Stone Show, and thanks for your firebrand conservative leadership to keep America first and support the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln. God bless you.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.